What's up, everybody? It's Critical. Over the last 4 or 5 years, there's a question that's constantly popped up that I keep forgetting to bring up in my yearly answering questions video, so I figured I might as well make a whole video about it today. A lot of you might not remember, but about 4 or 5 years ago, I was involved in a car accident, and then a lady faked an injury and sued me for it, and it was just a really shitty period for me. And I made a video after the whole lawsuit and everything was finished and done with, but I still get asked a lot to go into more detail about what happened. So I figured, fuck it, why not? It's kind of an interesting story. So I was on my way home from my figure drawing art class, and I'm pretty shitty at art, and drawing nude models was just incredibly difficult. They'd strike the most bizarre poses like the Inquisitive Masturbator or the YMCA, and I'd do my best to doodle them, but it always came out looking like something out of a 3-year-old sketchbook. It basically just looked like you were looking at bacteria under a microscope. But regardless of my artistic ineptitude, it's irrelevant. So I was driving home from that class, and it's just an ordinary commute and bumping some boner jams, and then all of a sudden, the car in front of me slams on their brakes, and I had absolutely no time to react. So I rear-ended that car, and then that car rear-ended the car in front of them. Now, it wasn't a high-speed impact. At most, I was going 25, but I didn't have time to slam on my brakes because I was driving a little too close to them, so that was like a full 25 in the anus. And luckily, no one was hurt in the accident. But I turn off the boner jams and I go check on the passengers in both cars, and I swear I couldn't have gotten in an accident with two worse groups of people in those cars. The car that I rear-ended was driven by a nurse who was also the babysitter of the 2 kids in the car whom she was bringing to their families, and the kid in the front seat, the front passenger seat, had a fucking artificial sternum and set of ribs. So when she told me that, I just figured the kid wasn't gonna make it, even though I don't think he was injured. Maybe the airbag clipped him and just destroyed the poor guy. But he was fine. The kid in the back seat was on like an oxygen tank or something, or I don't know what he had back there. He had some type of Star Trek contraption that was keeping him afloat. So I just thought they were both gone for. The lady was totally fine, and turns out the kids were both fine, but I was fucking panicked once I heard all of this information and saw when I looked in the car. And then the car they rear-ended was driven by a mid-90s woman transporting her 74-year-old son to a doctor's appointment to check on the condition of his fucked up leg. And when I went up to this car to check if they were alright, I thought it was just driven by 2 statues. They didn't even react. They were confused as to why I was up there. I don't even think they knew they were in an accident until all the dust settled, and then they realized their car was kind of damaged. When I saw them, though, I thought it was game over. I thought there was no way they survived this. It looked like a rogue tumbleweed could take them out. Turns out they were totally fine, and more so just annoyed that they were going to be late to the doctor's appointment. So luckily, everyone was 100% fine. The only one who even sustained any type of injury was me, and it was from when I went to check on the car in front of me. It was covered in broken glass that I didn't see, and I just cut the shit out of my hand on it. So the police show up, the paramedics show up, they give everyone the okay, a clean bill of health, no one needs to go to the hospitals or anything, they can all just go home, everyone's fine. But unfortunately, the car that I rear-ended must have been made out of fucking tissue paper because that shit just crumbled. The entire rear end of that was just in shambles. My car had absolutely no damage to it, and that's not an exaggeration. There wasn't even a scratch on my car. I guess I just rear-ended a block of styrofoam. But anyway, so everyone's fine, everyone's safe, we all go our separate ways. And then about a week later, the woman driving the car with the 2 glass children issues a lawsuit. She's suing me and my family, stating that she suffered severe neck injuries as a result of the accident, which is just bullshit, and we tried to fight it, but there really wasn't much we could do, because she went to one of the most corrupt doctors in Tampa, who was well known for performing fake surgeries on ambulance chasers. So she goes to this bogus doctor, and over the course of a year, gets a bunch of injections of Dorito dust into her, and then gets her tits polished or something. Then after about a year, she got a settlement from my insurance company for a very mediocre sum of money, and I imagine at most she probably pocketed about $5,000, so I don't know if it was really worth her time and effort, but whatever. All power to you, you fucking asshole. So yeah, that's the whole story about what happened there. Luckily, everyone was alright, even the girl who faked the injury. I'm glad she was safe, although she's a big old piece of shit. So yep, that's about it. See ya. It's been said a million times how out of touch Nintendo is with the world around them, And it should be said a million more times because it is laughable how archaic and primitive and disconnected from reality Nintendo is. If Nintendo was an army, they would still be fighting using muskets. Nintendo is like inhabited by nothing but Neanderthals afraid of fire. If you walked into the Nintendo office and said the word technology or internet, they'd all collectively hide under their desks out of fear. It is pathetic how behind the times Nintendo is. Why am I talking about Nintendo? It's because they've just done two incredibly fucking dumb things in the last 12 hours, back to back. A double whammy, double fisting the entire online community. The first thing they did is start striking Twitch streamers for playing their Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity game on stream a little early. And the reason they're playing the game early is because it came out in their area. Nintendo doesn't understand that time zones exist. They think everything is Nintendo time, baby. So the game is legally out in Australia and other parts of the world, so they just started streaming the game, but Nintendo doesn't fucking know that, so they think they've pirated the game, so they struck their channel down as a result. If you told Nintendo that other places have different time than what they see on the clock in their office, they'd call you a liar, heretic, flat earth, conspiracy theorist, all kinds of crazy shit, because it looks like they don't understand how fucking time zones work. That's how delusional Nintendo is. Nintendo is to gaming what the workers at Disney World are to the magic of imagination, locked in a fantasy world. They can't process reality or what the fuck is even going on in the world, it feels like. You need to look no further than the Nintendo Online service, the worst online functionality that you have to fucking pay a fee for. Whereas most things, like on PC and shit, you don't have to pay to play online. For Nintendo, you do, and you get the worst service. It's like a service you would find out of a dumpster 20 years ago. Like, it's terrible. It's fucking terrible. It makes me wonder how they even develop games in the first place with this archaic understanding of technology and the internet. Keep in mind, this is the company that used to strike YouTube videos and entire channels if you even played Mario Kart or had Mario soundtrack in your videos. That was only like 5 or 6 years ago. It wasn't even long ago. Nintendo probably still uses pigeon-carried mail as opposed to electronic mail because they're afraid of the email boogeyman. Now, aside from just this ridiculous striking crusade they went on today, they also decided to cease and desist a major Super Smash Bros. Melee tournament because they were using Slippy. I'm not going to get too deep into what Slippy is, but in a nutshell, it allows Super Smash Bros. Melee to be played online via emulator with rollback netcode, and it is the best possible online experience you can find for Melee. And since the world is still experiencing a pandemic, they can't have Melee tournaments in person, obviously, so they were using Slippy, and Nintendo put their fingers up their ass and got real stinky about it, sent out a full cease and desist to shut it all down. Just classic Nintendo shitting on everybody's fun and not understanding anything of what they're doing and how it affects people. Nintendo's whole brand image is about making content for the whole family to enjoy, but it seems like they prefer fucking families in the ass. They've always had a bad reputation when it comes to anything involving consumers and communities. They don't care about communities. They just like to slap them around and use them. And now, of course, you have the 15-year-old certified Twitter lawyers weighing in on the legality of Nintendo stepping in and shutting this down. Well, it's well within Nintendo's rights to shut this down. I mean, it is their property, and it is an emulated version of their game. I think it's totally fine they shut it down. It's Nintendo, and I think that's okay. Well, asshole, I mean, we could debate the legality of emulators all night and day, but at the end of the day, this is a 20-year-old game. I don't think they're somehow missing out on sales by having people emulate and play it online. I don't think there's anyone out there scratching at their neck right now waiting for Christmas so they can finally get a GameCube in Super Smash Bros. Melee. I highly doubt that, but what could happen is some people tune into a massive Smash Bros. Melee tournament, see how much fun the game is, and then go out of their way to become a fan of Super Smash Bros., where they likely do buy Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for the Switch, you know? There's a lot of things that could happen in regards to getting new audience, a new player base from watching an old game being played that Nintendo isn't making any money on these days. I don't think Super Smash Bros. Melee is somehow a cash cow at Nintendo HQ. They likely forgot they even made the fucking game. So yes, you and I can plop by the fireplace with an open bathrobe and debate the legality and whether or not Nintendo is well within their rights to shut it down till the cows come home, but it doesn't matter. The fact remains that it's still a douchey thing to do. It's a nearly 20-year-old property. Why are they trying to enforce that
intellectual property tooth and nail and dictate how people can enjoy that game from that many decades ago. It's not worth it. Just let people have their fucking fun. It's not a hard concept. Nintendo's supposed to be all about fun, right? Like, you know, fun for the whole family, all this and that. So what is the point in being so nasty and heavy-handed on everything relating to their property? It's a worthless fight that they decide to take with the community that supports them. It's pathetic. They absolutely just slap around the people that really like their games. It's really sad shit. And Nintendo is just so out of touch with the world that it is laughable. And it's really upsetting that they continue to operate this way without any consequence. They will always seem to be supported by the general population of gamers, even though they have no respect for gamers or anything in that ballpark. They probably don't even know what a gamer is. I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo's under the assumption that they're making pharmaceutical products or something. I really don't understand how the fuck they even make games with this basic level of understanding of the internet. It blows my fucking mind. It really does. They are so incredibly out of touch. And there's a hashtag floating around for Melee right now, which is hashtag free Melee, hoping that Nintendo will see it and retract their decision to shut this big event down. Hopefully it works, but I can tell you right now, Nintendo doesn't know what Twitter is. Nintendo's Twitter account is run by one guy in their basement that they don't even pay. And he said, let's just make a Twitter account. And they said, fuck you, just do whatever, stay in that basement. They don't know what that is. They probably won't see it. Would love to be proven wrong. Hopefully Free Melee does something, but I just wanted to vent about Nintendo. That's about it. So yeah.
Have you ever stopped to think how embarrassing it is being born? The first thing a human being does when it's birthed is cry, and crying is cringe. So we literally enter this world as a little cringe specimen, and it's up to us to spend the rest of our lives trying to transcend the first cringe and be something more. But what happens when you spend your entire lives as nothing but a clown? Someone who just embarrasses themselves at every step of their journey. Well, then you end up like Billy Mitchell. I'm just describing Billy Mitchell. Billy Mitchell is the self-proclaimed video game player of the century. He was the former world record holder for Donkey Kong, and he has spent the better part of the last 4 or 5 years just ruining his own reputation by frivolously suing everyone that even so much as makes fun of him or makes a light joke about him. And the reason for this lashing out is because it was revealed through tons and tons and tons of evidence that Billy Mitchell most likely cheated for his records, is most likely a fraud, allegedly. So since that doomsday, Billy's just been an insufferable asshole who sues everyone who makes a joke about it or talks about it, and he tries to scare people with massive lawsuits. It's just a big piece of shit. So he's already sued a YouTuber whom I'm a big fan of. His name's Carl. I'm sure a lot of you have watched his content before. He's suing Carl, and it's a very expensive lawsuit so far. It's been like $180,000 according to Carl. But he wasn't done there. Just 2 weeks ago, Billy Mitchell came back out of the shadows to sue Carl again. Even though the previous lawsuit is still ongoing, he is suing Carl again, but this time for an even more outrageous reason that I'm not going to spoil right now. I'll let Carl go ahead and give you the surprise, because what a special treat it is. This is one of the most baffling reasons for a lawsuit I think I've probably ever heard in general. Now, as I understand it, the second lawsuit hasn't been fully filed yet. Right now it is still in the letter of intent stage, where they are intending to sue Carl and have sent him the documents to indicate such, but it looks like it is going to be sent in the coming days. In response to this, Carl made another video going over just how silly it all is, but also how expensive everything is, and he set up a GoFundMe because he's right now getting dual hand jobs here from Billy Mitchell with the double lawsuit coming in. So he does have a GoFundMe, which I'm going to link below. Please feel free to support him if you'd like to help Carl against an absolutely ruthless villain here. I think Billy Mitchell is unhinged, and this kind of behavior is completely unacceptable and complete fucking bullshit. And hopefully it results in Billy Mitchell himself getting countersued. Good news is he currently is in another lawsuit with a company called Twin Galaxies, and it's looking like he will most likely lose that. So there's some good news there, and I have full confidence that Carl will also be able to beat Billy Mitchell, because Billy has a history of these awful fucking lawsuits that just don't work because they're so fucking dumb.
Now, I'd like to share some of Carl's video with you and go into even more detail on Billy Mitchell. So I want to talk about this. I don't know how many of you saw this today. So Carl is again being sued by Billy Mitchell. Billy Mitchell, as I'll bring you up to speed on the lore, disgraced best gamer of all time. What did he call himself? The gamer of the century? Can't quite recall. Donkey Kong world record holder, outed as a fraud, in denial for the rest of his life, allegedly a fraud. Otherwise, I'm going to get sued for saying that. And he just goes on like a legal rampage to try and scare people into silence. So he throws his meat around to get people on edge so they don't talk about him or they remove anything that's, hypercritical of him. Carl has once again found himself in the crosshairs of old Billy Mitchell here. So he's now posted this video talking about it, and this one is a little scarier than the last one. Billy Mitchell's got the fangs out, so he's coming out locked and loaded. And it's just a really fucking sad situation that Billy Mitchell continues to do this. He's what they call a serial suer. He just files all kinds of these frivolous lawsuits knowing full well they won't make it to court, but is still expensive on the people he files them against most of the time. It's a fucking disgrace. And he's absolutely shit at games.
As many of you know, last year I was officially sued by Billy Mitchell. In September of 2021, Mitchell filed a $450,000 lawsuit against me over my video titled "The Biggest Con Man in Video Game History."
Great video,
again.
too.
In that video,
Yeah, so if you're not familiar with Billy Mitchell, but you've seen the regular show, Billy Mitchell was so upset that they used his image in... Here, I'll bring it up, actually. I don't even know why I'm going to try and paint it with words when I can just look it up. They used this as like an antagonist when it was about like a high score episode. Billy Mitchell got pissed. He got so fucking mad. And this is honestly the best Billy Mitchell's ever looked. I actually think regular show did him a great service. Usually he's dressed like he's running for student class president. But here, they made him look cool. I can't remember if he sued them though. Oh no, he did. He did and lost. Which sounds par for the course in the life of Billy Mitchell. Judge declares Mitchell is not a giant floating head. Cool ruling. Though I do understand why Billy might be a little upset because they portrayed him as like this ferociously unhinged maniac, which he is. So that's just a big old get fucked Billy. Unlucky. I actually haven't read the quotes from the ruling. The television character does not match the plaintiff in appearance. GBF, character in the show, appears as a non-human creature, a giant floating head with no body from outer space, while plaintiff is a human being. And when GBF loses his title, the character literally explodes, unlike plaintiff. One could argue Billy Mitchell also explodes, but it's far more embarrassing. His explosions just usually end up with shittily written lawsuits and as well as just verbal tantrums, insult.
Billy Mitchell's compulsive need to threaten and sue people that talk about him has reached all-time highs, and you will not believe what he has recently done to try to silence me.
Yeah.
But before that, my legal defense has cost $180,000.
Yep.
Yes, you heard correctly, $180,000.
That's why it's so disgraceful when someone takes this absolute garbage route. There's a lot of people that have done this online. You guys might remember BitBoy Crypto tried something similar against Atozy, where Atozy called him out on some of the shit he was talking about, and BitBoy Crypto threatened this big lawsuit, defamation, I can't sleep, I can't eat because he called me a dirtbag, that kind of shit. It is always such a financial burden to fight that shit, even though it doesn't win the case. The whole point is to bleed you of money. It's so fucked up. Does it not cost Billy Mitchell money to file these? I don't know. I'm not well versed enough to know for sure. A lot of times the frivolous lawsuits, in order to file them, it's not super expensive or anything. You can do it relatively cheap, at least compared to fighting it. Because once you file it, the onus is really on the person you're going after to defend themselves against you. So that's where a lot of the money comes from. So yes, it does cost something for them to do it, but it doesn't cost nearly as much for them to file it as it does to fight it.
Because you see, Billy Mitchell isn't satisfied just suing me once. Oh no, he is going to sue me
Double
again.
dipping.
In
The old
April of
double
this
fist.
year, I released a video called Disgraced Gamer Billy Mitchell Accused of Extortion, where I factually and objectively reported on accusations made against Mitchell by the current Donkey Kong World Record holder, Robbie Lakeman.
Then that's where you made a mistake, Carl. I gotta tell you, when it comes to Billy Mitchell, there's no such things as facts, only feelings. And you poke the sleeping bear. Billy was content with just one frivolous lawsuit, but now he's going in full throttle.
As in my humble opinion, he has absolutely no case, and this is just an attempt to scare me, but it still gets even worse.
Yeah, it's an expensive scare tactic, though. And I have to say, I love the nuts on Carl. So, usually in these things, they make a request, take down the video or else. A lot of times, because of how expensive this is and how scary the big numbers are, people fold, take it down. Hope that's the end of it. Carl sticks to his guns, and I always appreciate that. I always think that's great. Just say, okay, you want to dance? Mama's putting on the dancing shoes then. Let's hit the tango. And then duke it out from there. Because going forward, while it's cheaper to file it than it is to fight it, it is still going to cost Billy Mitchell money should this continue. He's going to lose money as well. And it's not like he's like super wealthy. He does have a decent chunk of change to his name from what I understand. But it's not like he's made out of money. He can't fight this thing forever.
In May of this year, I released a video called I Cheated in a Speedrun and I Need to Come Clean, which was a parody video where I jokingly made fun of myself for submitting a few cheated scores to a gaming magazine over 20 years ago when I was a kid. Anyone who's watched that video might be wondering what this has to do with Billy Mitchell.
It was
as
brought
the
up in the
video
lawsuit.
wasn't about him, nor did I even talk about him. While it is true that I didn't mention or talk about Billy Mitchell, I did show this clip.
You're familiar with Billy Mitchell, world video game champion? He could probably do it. So I gotta find a way to harness his power, and I think I found a way.
That's right, we're gonna cheat.
This is a meme that was made back in 2020, which has over 4 million views
Fire
on YouTube
meme.
and millions of views on Twitter. That's right, in the entire video, I literally did not mention Billy Mitchell
He
at
should
all
sue
or
Angry
talk about
Video
him.
Game
I
Nerd.
simply randomly threw in this meme of someone else talking as a joke, and Billy Mitchell wants to sue me for this.
I didn't remember this. Peter Dinklage plays a Billy Mitchell stand-in who's always bested Adam Sandler's character when they were kids. It's revealed the reason he was so good was because he cheated. Fucking hype. I'm assuming Billy Mitchell tried a lawsuit there. He must have consented to that then. Maybe that was too big of an opportunity for him to get upset about. They had the creator of Pac-Man get eaten by Pac-Man in the movie. That's a little different though. Billy Mitchell is always adamant that he's never cheated. It's all legit. He is... What does he call himself? Is it the Gamer of the Century? Like, he calls himself fucking Gamer of the Century or something. Oh, Video Game Player of the Century. Not even... Jesus, Gamer of the Century would have been better. Why Video Game Player? You just call yourself Gamer and you get one word for the price of 3.
Billy Mitchell is guilty of fraudulently hoodwinking so as to obtain unfair advantage when competing in video games.
Yeah. That is what the meme is saying. I don't know how you really sue for the meme, though. Especially when Carl didn't even make the meme. He should go after the meme maker. In fact, he should just go after anyone that says anything about him on Twitter or Reddit. Like, just really put your tentacles all the way out there.
Section 10A of the Defamation
Including
Act at
you?
the time of your
I'm actually shocked Billy Mitchell hasn't come after me yet. Not only have I made fun of this man extensively for years now, talked about him on the podcast quite a bit, I keep up with Billy Mitchell and the enjoyable tragedy that is his public reputation and how he just wipes his ass with it constantly. I'm super finger on the pulse when it comes to Billy Mitchell. I am shocked he hasn't tried. I suppose he's welcome to if he wants. I would absolutely fight that shit tooth and nail. I'd request that it be live streamed as well, so that way there's fucking content flowing from it. I think it'd be great. Billy Mitchell strikes me as the type of guy that would represent himself in court too. Even though none of his lawsuits have ever made it that far because they're such dog shit, I feel like if they did, he would represent himself. It would be just a content factory.
Oh my lord. Billy Mitchell is a joke. He has become a parody of himself.
True.
This letter is nothing short of hilarious.
Not defamatory.
And I would otherwise
Truth.
be laughing if not for the fact that this is a real letter written by a real lawyer that my lawyers really had to respond to. So not only does he want to sue me over a meme that someone else made, but he wants to sue me over a meme that someone else made that's true. And what's ironic is that there are
Huge.
hundreds of comments underneath the
Love that.
YouTube video of this clip of people making fun of Billy, joking, saying that he's going to sue them for posting it. And then he actually...
Yeah, how can you, as Billy Mitchell, they even quoted the YouTube comments in the lawsuit. So how can you, as Billy Mitchell, see these comments, them laughing at you, knowing you're going to sue him, and then still do it? You make yourself an even bigger joke. It is actually just impressive. Billy Mitchell is like a human snowball, like just tumbling down a mountain, getting bigger and bigger and bigger as more and more failures compound, and then eventually just having this comedic explosion at the bottom that everyone points and laughs at. What a remarkable legacy.
So I have set up a GoFundMe
Probably.
to help with my fight against Billy Mitchell, and any help would be immensely appreciated.
Absolutely.
This GoFundMe is set to cover the rest of my existing lawsuit, plus the new lawsuit that Billy Mitchell says he will be filing, plus having to deal with all of the other bullshit threats that come my way. This is in Australian dollars, so it's not as large as it seems, but it's still a very significant amount of money that it's
I think
going
it's
to take to
150K
defeat
USD.
Mitchell. There is light at the end of the tunnel, though. In Australian court, generally the loser has to pay a lot of the legal fees of the winning party. So
How's the GoFundMe going? I hope it's going well. I haven't checked. Fuck yeah. Hey, that's a good day one right there. I'll be donating to it. I really think when Carl wins, I don't see a world where Billy somehow squeaks out a dub here. I think when Carl wins, Carl needs to countersue. And I will do whatever it takes to make that possible. I want to put Billy Mitchell against the ropes. I want Carl and Billy to duke it out in court. And I just want to be there with the popcorn to spectate. Because you can countersue for frivolous lawsuits. Knowingly filing bogus lawsuits isn't necessarily allowed. You can come back against that, for sure. So I really think once this is all settled, the dust settles, I think a countersuit is the right play.
the next 12 months will not be good for Billy Mitchell. He has his trial against Twin Galaxies coming up, and in my opinion,
Oh,
and in
yeah.
the opinion of anyone who knows the details of Mitchell's cheating, he has absolutely no chance of winning.
I completely fucking forgot. Billy Mitchell is actually being sued right now. So in the middle of him getting sued, he is still sending out lawsuits. This man is unstoppable. I forgot Twin Galaxies is suing him.
But as soon as he loses one of these lawsuits, which is inevitable, he will be absolutely destroyed and everything will come crumbling down. So, this has been an update to what I've been dealing with.
So one thing Carl says that I think is a little wrong is everything crumbling down for Billy Mitchell. That makes it sound like Billy Mitchell has like a prospering career. He doesn't. Billy Mitchell is like the definition of washed up has-been. Everything will come crumbling down should all of these lawsuits not go in his favor, which I highly doubt they will. But it's not like he's in a good spot right now in general. People talk about him as the butt of jokes. He's not necessarily a celebrity. He's not looked at as a video game icon or champion or anything. He doesn't have like a big empire. He's just a big asshole who has ruined his own legacy and refuses to accept any level of responsibility. No one gives a fuck about Billy Mitchell aside from laughing at him for every frivolous lawsuit. You might get sued. I'm not saying anything defamatory. I'm just saying the truth of where he's at right now. He may or may not have cheated. There's a lot of evidence to suggest he did, but it's all alleged, of course. I'm just talking about him being a joke of a person. That's not defamatory. I find you sad. That's not defamatory. Watching you makes me laugh and feel sadness.
Again, if you have the means, I would appreciate any help, so please consider donating to my GoFundMe, or consider sharing this video. Thank you so much for watching, you legends. I hope you are having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video.
Love you, Carl. I have full faith Carl slam dunks this. Yeah, please support Carl. If anyone wants to see Billy Mitchell lose even more, help Carl win the case.